You got different kind of transactions out here that you can actually make. We take it for granted. You know, you just think that, okay, I'm going to go out here and buy this real quick and come back home. I'm going to go out here and buy this bag of chips and come back home, not even realizing that everything you do in commerce is considered some form of traffic. If you're doing it in traffic, meaning that if you're getting to your car, going to the store, or whatever, you're already in traffic. You're already participating in a form of a tax or some form of a insurance claim. And you have different types of transactions. Like you can use cash, you can use credit cards, of course, and that's what everybody uses nowadays. Credit cards, debit cards, and things like that. And what happens with credit and debit cards is that that's when your Social Security comes into play, and they begin to use your Social Security as a form of a contract, because your Social Security, of course, is going to be linked to your bank card. Yeah, you have an account number and all of that, but that's just a portal to get to the bank. So what happens is all these numbers, these are just different portals to get to different aspects of what you deem the so-called government that's controlled by this computer system. Um, and part of this computer system is here on Earth. Other parts of it are on different planets, of course, because they know that you got crazy hackers that will try to hack into it and, of course, break into it and steal money or steal digits off the computer system. So people that design this has been going on for a while, since the 1800s from my research. And I'll get more into it as we progress. But the people that designed this thing designed it in a way to where you can't steal it. The people that designed this were actually a group of Europeans, from what I've researched. And when I say Europeans, that don't mean that they were all white or albino or black or Moors or melanated. I'm speaking of where they were actually from, the region and the area that they were from when they designed the system or whatever. Back in the 1800s, and this is actually the system that's used to regulate us. Your Social Security number is like a BIN number. This is what makes you commerce. And there's different levels to it. Of course, if you didn't have Social Security, there's one other way that they could track you. And I'll talk about that on future episodes. We're just gonna focus on Social Security. So, of course, they got everybody on cards, right? You're using cards to purchase things like vehicles or whatever you use your card for. You're giving out a loan, but it's kind of like a unilateral contract because, of course, you're unknowledgeable of it. For one thing, you don't really know what's going on because you're considered a minor in commerce. You say, well, I'm over 18. I'm not a minor. I'm grown. That's a word that's going into different levels. Like being over 18 to them is talking about a certain amount of digits or figures that you may have already surpassed when you say that you're over 18. So being over 18, that's not what I'm speaking of when I'm speaking of being a minor according to their language. So they got you as a minor doing these contracts and you're giving out loans. And this is where I'll stop at. Your Social Security number is broke down into three different parts. You got the first part, the second part, and the third part. And I'm going to go into just the last four digits. The first two digits, the first two parts have a meaning. I'll do that and save that for another episode. I'm going to go into the last four digits because this is what they have different levels of how companies can access these loans through people's Social Security. So when they have you sign up, say for instance you go work a job or you go to a job interview or just anything that's going to involve your Social Security, of course they're going to have you sign up into what? Some form of a registry, meaning that you're registering so that they in accepting the contract that, yeah, we can trade off of you. We can use your commodities because you registered with us to trade on your commodities and your Social Security. And then there's different levels that each company, depending on the type of company they are, can access your Social Security. So like your last four digits of your Social Security, this is how they get regular funding, if you will, from like the different Federal Reserves is what I'm talking about. All the Federal Reserves are controlled by the last four digits of your social. All these companies ask you for the last four digits of your social. And this is how they get daily loans to trade like on the stock market and like day loans pretty much. Like they call them shorts. This is how they get short-term loans from your last four digits of your social. Now your The other brackets of your social, because there's 9 digits, of course. So the other 5 digits, which the first there is broken down into, the first part is broken down into 3 digits. The second part is broken down into 2 brackets or 2 digits, and then of course the last is broken down into 4 digits. These are different levels or tiers. This is the lowest level, the last 4 digits. This is how all the companies operate. The politicians and all that, they access a different part of your social security. Politicians, they access the middle part, sometimes going even into the first part, but I'll do that on another episode on because that's with the election and kind of like with the polls and all of that shit that you seen going on with the election. That's what that was over, was the middle parts and going into the other aspects of Social Security. So this is how they fund the economy. It's very important to realize this. So when you go work a job, yes, or any type of commerce, when you get in your car or anything that you do involving any type of contract, if somebody's a sound-minded body, they can extort your Social Security through the last 4 digits of your Social Security number, in which everybody, for the most part, has to have one. And this is the part of the contract. And I'm pointing this out because if you know this, there are things that you can do to, even if you're operating as a corporation, there are things that you could do as far as like different trade deals that you can do with companies that may be international to offset this. But the ultimate goal is to get out of all contracts and become the creditor. Instead of receiving all the time, become the creditor. You may look poorer, but you are the creditor. You start to give the loans to the companies, and over time, you'll build up. You'll be working with the CEOs of all these different companies. They'll come contact you if they know that you know the language. So I'll do more videos talking about this. I thank you all for listening and watching. As always, stay vigilant. Namaste.